You know how I told you I'm terrible at doing two things at the same time? I've been working on that. I managed to get some work done for my book this week, despite the vlog. Yes, I know, impressive. I just finished gathering data on the environmental impacts of protein powders and plant milks. It's pretty interesting. If you want to see the results visually, here they are. In the case of protein powders, it's a trade-off. Whey protein has the largest carbon footprint per kilogram because cows fart and burp a lot of methane. However, because whey is a byproduct of cheese making, it has low energy and land requirement. Plant protein powders, on the other hand, have low carbon footprint but require more energy during the production process and take up more land because legumes have low yields. In the case of milk, the comparison is more straightforward. Cow milk has the highest carbon footprint because of methane emissions and takes up the most land because of feed production and because cattle must be housed on dairy farms. However, it has a slightly lower energy use compared to almond milk and soy milk due to irrigation and the costs of agriculture in general. What I found surprising is that European soy milk has a lower carbon footprint than cow milk, even when soybeans are grown on deforested land and imported across the Atlantic from Brazil on container ships. It's insane. Large cargo ships are very efficient. So I'm making progress, but I have to be realistic. If I want to get the book done this year, I need to learn to not spend 2 weeks working on a vlog, like I did last time. For this vlog, I've decided to do an audience Q&A. On my last video, I asked you to post questions under my comment, and I'm gonna answer as many as I can in this video. Let's see how this goes. First question comes from Basti N. He essentially asks why he always gets sick when he works a lot and he also trains at the same time. I probably need research to answer this question, but I'll do my best here. It appears that our body has a single finite reservoir of recovery resources that is divided to cope with each type of stress we deal with. For the average lifter, I imagine the split would be 20% immune function, 30% work, 10% daily concerns, and 40% recovery from training. Please keep in mind these percentages are made up. I'm just trying to explain a concept. Now, if for example someone in the lifter's family dies, that suddenly adds a huge extra stress and reduces the amount of recovery resources that can be allocated to the other ones. And as a result, you might have poorer performance at work, your immunity goes down, you might feel overwhelmed by daily concerns, and of course, you recover worse from your workouts. I remember I did a video on recovery back in 2016, and there was a study that showed this. Editing Radu, take over please. Stultz, Kolemanen and colleagues conducted a very well-designed study in which they assessed the recovery from training of two groups of people. One group that was going through a very stressful period in their lives, and another group who were under very little stress. Among other physical tests, they had them do 6 sets on the leg press to failure, and they found that the group with low life stress was fully recovered and stronger 2 days later. On the other hand, the group with high stress took 4 days just to recover to baseline. In addition to that, they reported more soreness and fatigue following the same workout. Thanks, Editing Radu. Perhaps your work as a developer and the effort of building your company. What the hell? These crows, man, oh my god. I can't film anything here. I'm gonna move this back home. I'm freezing here anyway. There we go. As I was saying, perhaps your work as a developer and the effort of building your own company takes up most of your recovery resources. And when you add in training on top of that, it takes away from immunity and you get sick. So what can you do? Now, obviously, one solution would be to work less. So you've got more recovery resources to deal with training. But I imagine that's not an option because your work is your main priority. Then perhaps you can make the recovery reservoir larger. My opinion is that the size of the recovery reservoir is determined by many things we can control, such as age, genetics, and general health, but also by sleep, nutrition, and probably fun, leisure activities. Editing, Radu? I found a 2017 review that says people who are sleep deprived have a 4 to 5 times greater risk of developing the common cold, and they have higher inflammation markers. So perhaps one thing you can do to increase your recovery reservoir is to sleep more and take daytime naps when you can. The researchers also found that consuming 30 to 60 grams of carbs during workouts improves recovery and may help diminish the fall in immunity. A diet high in protein and rich in vegetables also seems to help in this regard. Thanks again, Editing, Radu. This is the best answer I can give you without spending a week reading research. I'll put up a summary on the screen for you. But before I move on, there's one more thing I want to say about this. Our genes are probably the largest factor that determine how much stress we can handle in life. I remember in 2016 I was watching Casey Neistat, and at that time he was doing a high quality daily vlog. He was building a company, he had an infant daughter, he was traveling around the world once a week, he was running the equivalent of a marathon every week, had a horrible diet, and he was sleeping just 3 or 4 hours a night. And he was fine. He did that for a year without any issues. I, on the other hand, when I tried to copy him and make a video every day, and I was editing every night until 3 or 4 in the morning, I did that for 2 months and I ended up in the hospital with tuberculosis. My immune function took such a hit that I literally ended up in the hospital with a life-threatening disease. And this was despite being younger than Casey, training just 3 times per week, and having a reasonably healthy diet. We are not equal in terms of how much stress we can handle. There are some people who can grind and grind and grind for years without any issues. And then there are hypersensitive people for whom even daily inconveniences take a huge toll on their bodies. Alright, Kara asks what 5 books influenced me the most. In the last 2 years, Start with Why, Sapiens, Sustainable Energy Without the Hot Air, The Moral Landscape, and Should We Eat Meat? Pokey Belgium asks, do you still use a goal card? If so, what is on it at the moment? Yes. It essentially says that I want to build a business around this type of content where I research how we should live and create practical guides for my audience. Sam Shepard asks, have I dealt with any injuries? Yes. Unfortunately, I take regular trips to Snap City. I'd say on average I get an injury that interferes with my training once every 6 months. I actually have an interesting theory. I suspect the reason why a lot of guys who are otherwise consistent with their training never reach advanced status is because they get injured or sick often right when they're in peak condition. Because of the illness or injury, they need to take a few weeks off lifting, time in which they lose muscle and strength. Then after they come back to the gym, they spend a few months building back up, then surpassing their previous PRs, then they get sick or injured again and they have to take time off lifting again, so they lose progress. So it's an annoying cycle of injury, recovery, injury, recovery, injury, recovery, and they make very slow progress over long periods of time. If you're one of the guys in this situation, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sergio asks, what do you think of the vegan diet nutrition-wise? Is it superior to a regular omnivore diet? I'd say a poorly planned vegan diet is nutritionally inferior to a poorly planned omnivorous diet. However, there's a trade-off. Poorly planned omnivorous diets usually lead to obesity and chronic disease, such as heart disease, diabetes, or cancer. And those, I imagine, probably shorten your lifespan by a decade or more. Poorly planned vegan diets, on the other hand, rarely lead to obesity and actually protect against heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. But they usually create nutritional deficiencies. And those create all sorts of daily inconveniences. Eating too little protein might cause hair loss. Eating too much fruit and other acidic foods might cause tooth decay. Not getting vitamin B12 and omega-3 fatty acids might lead to depression. Not getting enough iron might lead to angular stomatitis. Not getting enough calcium to low bone density. Stuff like that. Not life-threatening diseases, but things that decrease your quality of life. Now, personally, I don't know which one is worse. Dying 10 years earlier or living a lower quality life. Now, with that said, a vegan diet can definitely be made equally nutritious to a good omnivorous diet. But there's an obstacle. That requires either micromanaging your diet or taking supplements. Micromanaging your diet requires that you're pretty well educated in nutrition. I mean, you've got to know what foods contain iron, what foods contain calcium, what foods contain zinc, and you actually have to make sure that you include those foods in your diet every day. Most people don't have this knowledge. The second option, taking supplements, requires that you actually have the discipline to take them every day, which, believe me, people don't have even that. So even though a vegan diet can be made perfectly nutritious, I still conclude that it's nutritionally inferior to an omnivorous diet simply because it requires more knowledge and more effort to do it right, as the vegans say. And yeah, I totally get what you mean about vegans overselling the diet. I actually think it does the cause a disfavor because people come into the vegan diet with all these unrealistic expectations about feeling amazing, and then they don't notice any difference, and they're not warned that they need to micromanage their diet or take supplements. Then a few years later they run into nutritional deficiencies, and then they come back as ex-vegans who say the diet is bullshit and nobody should be doing this. So yeah, overselling anything does more harm than good in the long term. Francie asks, what's your overall goal with your current gym lifestyle? Are you planning to be a bodybuilder or just want to look good and be healthy? The second one. At the moment, I mainly want to look good and be healthy, but I do want to make progress over time. My main fitness goals, my long-term fitness goals, are to reach the advanced strength standards in the Symmetric Strength app. Check it out. I'm currently at proficient levels. To be honest, I barely weigh myself, measure my waist, and even look shirtless in the mirror anymore. Back in 2016, after every workout, I checked myself in the locker room mirror to acknowledge the gains. But now I no longer care as much. And you know, on my last video, I got criticism that I haven't made any gains since I left YouTube. And that's mostly right. It sucks to say it, but it's mostly right. I only gained about 2 kilograms of muscle these last couple of years, and I'm only maybe 10% stronger. I'm also fatter, and I think I look worse overall. Related to the previous question, Eduardo asks, what are my body stats? Because he wants to look like me, and he wants to know what goals he should reach to look like me, essentially. I'll put my stats on the screen. I personally use the Symmetric Strength app. I'm not paid to say this, I just really like their app. And I'm currently at proficient strength standards on all upper body lifts. If you want to look like me, I think that if you reach the proficient strength standards in the Symmetric Strength app, you will have a similar look. And the last question, because this video is getting kind of long, Ankush asks, what are my current thoughts on the Kinobody routine and why in detail did I move away from it? I think for the average person, the Kinobody programs are great. The thing is, the fitness world currently leans towards higher volume and medium intensity. And the Kinobody programs are in the other extreme. They're low volume, high intensity. And that, coupled with their questionable marketing, it immediately makes you think that they're a scam. But they definitely work, you just have to enjoy that style of training. What I really like about the Kinobody programs is that they teach a few very important principles. Focus on strength to drive muscle growth. Focus on making progress on a few key exercises. Develop the muscle groups that give you the best proportions. The key to looking good is to be lean, not huge. Track your lifts every workout and aim to surpass your previous performance. Set your fitness goals in terms of relative strength.
because once you reach those relative strength standards, you will look the way you want. Honestly, this is a very good fitness philosophy. I still follow all of these points, but the reason I moved away from the Kinobody programs is because I wanted to train legs more and I no longer enjoyed reverse pyramid training. The Kinobody routines usually have just 1 or 2 leg exercises per week, and it's hard to fit more in the way the programs are set up. And I no longer wanted to do reverse pyramid training, RPT, because I just didn't like the pressure of having to always surpass my previous performance. Because I usually failed. I used to put way too much pressure on myself arriving at the gym. I've got to do 5 reps today, I've got to do 6 reps, I've got to add more weight to the bar. And when I failed, I got really disappointed and I bummed myself out. I thought I was doing something wrong because in the Kinobody community there's this trend that everybody gets stronger every workout, and I thought, what, am I the only one who doesn't? And it was just this whole pressure I didn't like. And I find I much rather enjoy doing straight sets at 7 to 9 RPE. That means I usually do 3 sets. In my first set, I usually leave 3 reps in reserve. Then in my second set, 2 reps in reserve. And on my last set, I usually have 1 or half a rep in reserve. So I never take sets to the limit like I used to do with RPT. And I find that way more enjoyable. Hey, this is Radu again. Thanks for watching until the end. If you plan to get lean in 2020, I recommend enrolling in my ShredSmart program. Now in the 3rd version, it shows you how to maintain a calorie deficit without being hungry all the time and interfering with your lifestyle too much. The main strength of the program is that it's tailored for beginners and is very easy to understand. It shows you what calories and macros you need to eat, how to set up your meal plans, what strength standards you need to reach to look the way you want, how lean you need to get, how to track your lifts, when to increase the weight, what to do if you plateau, and other practical advice like this. I've put a link to it in the description. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.